Welcome back and good afternoon, everybody, to the Grand Prix of Texas for the Pirelli World Challenge at Circuit of the Americas, just a little bit outside of Austin. It is so great to have you with us. There's a look at the 251-foot observation tower, and it's sort of an iconic landmark here. That first shot was of turn 11, and leading on to a hugely long straight. You've got turn 1, which is becoming an iconic corner in the world of motorsports. And so many parts of this track have so many challenges leading into the S's and the like. It is a special day, and we are about ready to go racing in the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX category for the 9th round of the championship. I'm Greg Creamer along with Calvin Fish, and of course Jeff Lepper will be down in pit lane. Yesterday evening we ran the makeup race for the 4th round of the championship from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. But today we actually start the weekend of racing in the normal doubleheader format here. And one of the things, along with some immense competition that everybody's dealing with, Cal, is heat. It is warm here, up into the 90s now. Fortunately, the humidity certainly could be a lot worse. It's there, but it's not too bad. But still, this heat is draining.
It is, and we talked yesterday about the tire degradation issue potential, and it didn't really rear its head too much. We saw some guys fade a little bit towards the end of the race yesterday, particularly the Cadillacs, but nonetheless, I think in the heat of the day, that could be more of a factor in terms of losing the performance with the car. And even though the Cadillac sits on the pole, a brilliant lap by Ricky Taylor this morning, or around lunchtime actually, I think they're thinking we may struggle to hang on to that track position as this race moves forward.
Well, that's a good point. The race last night literally running into sunset by the end of it. Much cooler temperatures. The track in a little bit better shape just because of the cooler temperatures. This is the heat of the afternoon right now. And there is the field getting ready to go. And as Cal pointed out, qualifying happening a little bit earlier this morning. And that great lap by Ricky putting that number 3 Velocity red Cadillac on the front row. In the TR3 racing, Ferrari, a late lap. And a really strong one at that in the hands of Daniel Mancinelli. Robbed a front row for those Cadillacs. It looked like the number 8 of Michael Cooper in that blue Cadillac would be right there in that front row, and Mancinelli threw one in late in the going for the outside of the front row. Cooper and his teammate Jordan Taylor will start third. Interesting story there. They come in now. They've got a 23-point lead. After you factor in the points now from that makeup round in the 4th point, they're still in a fairly commanding position in the SprintX championship anyway. Yeah,
they do. It's a big lead with just 2 rounds to go here this weekend. So if they have straightforward races, they should be in pretty good shape. But the Ferrari had a lot of pace in qualifying. Mancinelli not only laid down a lap good enough for the front row, Greg, he backed up with a lap just a few hundredths slower, whereas everyone else was dropping off pretty quickly. So that, to me, kind of indicates they've got good long-range pace. And I was just walking around the pre-grid there. There's a couple of the teams. We've got these Joker tires. You're allowed 4 Joker tires for the SprintX rounds. And a couple of the teams are using them all up for this race today. Wow. Number 2, Daniel Mourad. He looks pretty bright and shiny sitting on the grid looking at those sticker tires. And I think the Ferrari's doing the same thing. So they're really putting all their eggs in one basket in terms of going out there, should have better performance and the ability to lay down a quick lap early in the going to set up the grid position for tomorrow.
And Mourad was very, very racy yesterday. At one point they were thinking that and he said, well, we might be a sitting duck to the Cadillacs right behind us. And then Mourad just dropped the hammer and took off and put in a remarkable drive, finishing 3rd. Now, of course, there is also an overall combined championship. This series has the sprint, the normal, the historical format for World Challenge. This year, SprintX also for half of the season. And one driver will end up with the overall combined championship. That was a huge change yesterday because Pat Long came in with only 5 points in hand over the guy that was giving him a close chase at that point, which was Michael Cooper. Now he's up 11. So that win that he and Jurg put together yesterday, big.
It's big, and when you factor in the guy who's also very much in the overall mix, Alvaro Parent, they had a disaster. Barnacle got involved a couple of times, I think, and ultimately punctured a radiator and a hose had to be replaced. So they lost a lot of time. Did get the car back out to, exceed the 25-minute, the 30-minute drive time for the event to score points, but only 3 points. So suddenly Parent is now 30 points behind Pat Long in the overall championship with 4 rounds remaining.
And he was 8 behind coming in, so huge development there. So that's a tough one for them to take, no question. And that CRP Racing team of Mourad and Dial, 3rd in the SprintX championship points, only 7 out of 2nd place, so they're right in it. And then that 58 Porsche after yesterday now sits 4th, only 3 out does Pat Long. in that championship with the win in the fast lap. And we're getting word from down on the front straight that the field is coming to life as we are getting ready to go with this 1 hour SprintX race. Again, at the 25-minute mark, the pits will open. There's a 10-minute window where you have to do a mandatory driver change. No tire change nor fueling, just a driver change. If you're in a pro car, it's a 60-second delta from when you enter the pits to exit to get that done. If you're in a Pro-Am or Am category machine, then it is a 90-second delta to get that driver change done. And you think, oh, well, that's plenty of time, no issues there. Tell you what, for that 60 seconds, and that includes the traverse down pit lane, you sit on a belt or you have something go wrong hooking up one of your comm links, and suddenly that stop goes to 62, 63 seconds. You could lose 3-4 spots, such as the intensity of the competition here. And the other thing, without doing a tire change, Cal, to set this up a little bit, those tires are hot, even though you've been sitting in the pits for 30 seconds. A lot stickier than a fresh set. So we see guys every once in a while stalling because they just don't get the revs up enough on it. As you see our Cadillac Escalade, the medical vehicle, the official medical vehicle of this championship, thanks to Cadillac. But lots of things that they still have to deal with in these pit stops.
Yeah, lots of nuances. And we saw at Utah, if you did get it wrong, I think it was Eversley and Dyer had a really bad driver change on the first round there at Utah. And I think they were like 67 seconds. So that's huge to lose 6-7 seconds to your competition. And a lot of teams are using different ways of doing it now. I was talking to the K-Pax team. They now have a Logitech system that really tells them when to release from the pit box, then gives you a green and red light as you're traversing down pit lane towards pit out to whether the driver needs to speed it up a little bit to cut a little bit finer or slow it down, most importantly, so you don't dip under that 60-second range.
There's a lot of strategy that still gets played out. By the way, up at the lead of the field, just coming out from underneath the bridge there, is the Cadillac ATS-V. That is our official safety vehicle, serves as the pace car and safety vehicle for the championship. Again, thanks to Cadillac for their support here. There is that pole-sitting, beautiful Velocity red Cadillac in the hands of Ricky Taylor right now. Looking forward to getting this one underway again. And the way, by the way, that pit window opens, the lap essentially before the actual pit window will open, there is a board that is displayed at start-finish that indicates the next time by the pits will be open. Every driver has to see that board. In other words, not enter the pits, drive down the front straight, see that board, and then they can come in and start that sequence. And it's interesting. You've got Pro-Am category drivers in this as well. And, you know, oftentimes when it's the second race of the weekend, you'll leave the Pro in a little bit longer. In the Am category, you might have the Am stop short, get the Pro in for as much as possible. But in these all-Pro cars, it's awful. It's just kind of what the strategy looks like at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think track position, if you feel you're being held up, you know, you maybe dive in and try and find some clean air so you can come out and some fresh air and lay down some quick laps. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I think certainly on the Pro-Am combinations, you would look at the Ams coming in as soon as we hit that 25-minute window, turning over to the Pro, who can then maximize the drive time for the rest of the event. And we saw some great performances yesterday, particularly from Mathieu Jaminet. With James Safron, as he went from the back of the pack all the way up, I think it was top 6 or 7 before he turned it over, and ultimately they won their class.
Yeah, James put a last lap pass on for the win on the 54 Black Swan Mercedes. Just some great stuff. Lights out on the safety vehicle, which means we are going green this time by into one of these great corners here. This triple apex right-hander patterned after the legendary Turn 8 at the Istanbul racetrack, and served Formula One so well for so many years. And then 19 and 20, and then onto the front straight, and we go racing.
One man who's really going to be on a mission here is that Apex McLaren there on the outside of the second row. Alvaro Prent has to make something happen here today. He's got to score some big points, get back in this championship.
All right, one more turn, and we are onto the front straight and ready to go racing here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Texas, Circuit of the Americas. The green flag flies as they come through the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone a little bit farther up the straight, and away we go. And boy, that immediately went to 3 wide, 4 wide now, deep in the pack. And look at Cooper working the inside here. Way down to the inside goes the Bentley.
Well, he's going to try and take it around the outside. He's got 4 fresh Pirelli tires on. He's got the Joker tires on, so he's got to get those scrubbed in.
That's Pat Long has gone around.
Yeah, he made a brilliant start, actually got to the outside of Alvaro Parent. Obviously, something happened there as they tried to navigate through turn one, and the Ferrari has hung on there.
Wow. Again, every opportunity here for anything to go wrong. It seems to have immense points complications. That one certainly does. Oh, no. And there is Preston Calvert in the 017. That is one of the GTS category cars. Let's see what happens here. Here you see Long.
Middle of the pack. Oh, yeah, Parent there.
Just turned him.
Parent was squeezed between Mourad and Long, and is just 3 into 2 spots, essentially. Lucky that Pat Long escaped further damage there. Someone just skirted his left rear corner. I don't think he got clipped. A lot of work to do.
And we are full course caution, full course caution. And Cooper started the move on Mancinelli, and now I think realizes, oh, the yellow has been called, and backs out of it just a little bit. It looks as though these 04 Aston Martin from De La Torre Racing of Jorge De La Torre maybe got into that 77 of Calvert as he was trying to avoid. He almost hit Long, swung to the right to not hit him, and that's where the 77 had floated, and that may be why we have damage on the 77.
Isn't racing incredible, though? The irony, Alvaro Parent has a bad start, Pat Long has a great one, that you end up in turn one, Pat Long gets turned around. It's for Alvaro Parent's advantage. He was trying to get back in this championship when he's 30 points behind Long, and now he's towards the front of the pack, and Long's got a lot of work to do.
Irony can be pretty ironic sometimes.
Long day ahead.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Yes, indeed.
Get
so,
back to green.
yeah, quickly, please. This could get ugly in a hurry. So it's going to be right now. Taylor is just pacing the field at this point. You can see there's a lot of attention made here, and of course it's hot out, so it's not like you've got to work super hard to get heat into the tires. But with the way this track tends to be fairly abrasive on tires, you want to make sure you've got those tires clean, so you've got a good surface to be able to attack on when we go back to green, and hopefully, which will be relatively soon here. Clock continues to count, of course.
Just to recap, that yellow Ferrari sitting there in the second spot, and the number 2 Mercedes driven by Daniel Mourad currently running 4th. We believe both those cars started on fresh Pirelli P0s, the Joker tires. You're allowed 4 for the SprintX Championship, and they've thrown all their chips in at once in terms of maximizing the potential here.
Cut tire there. Yep, that's what it was when he got into the side of Calvert. So he was trying to avoid Long, so that's what happened there. And anybody in the field can go ahead and put on 4 new tires. Problem is, they go right to the back of the pack. And in this field, working your way through the pack is not easily done. And so I can see them maybe throwing rears on or something, but interesting that they threw them all on here. And they're making their play for the championship right now, essentially.
Yep. And the key is not just the performance in terms of your position that you're finishing, but also having the ability to lay down a really quick lap.
Right. Right.
You need a clean track to do that. There's no point if you got a guy right in front of you who's 3 or 4 tenths off your ultimate pace. So they'll have to manage that as well.
And those quick laps, man, I mean, for the start tomorrow, that's important too. There's so much for these teams to be thinking about.
Long right now is in the 21st position. You get scored overall here as well, so it's not just within your class. It's not like the Pro-Am combinations.
Yeah,
moved
exactly.
aside in terms of how you score points. And that was a problem for Parent yesterday, even though when they got him back out, he was buried deep in the pack and only picked up 3 points despite finishing the race.
Yeah, I mean, if you threw out all the Pro-Am and Am-Am competitors, he was like 12th, but he ended up 21st. Those are the points you get.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is really crucial, and Long's he and Jorg are gonna have to find it today. That's the only way to put it. Right behind right now, Mike McCann in the McCann Racing Yeti Coolers Audi, running in the 20th spot. Nice to have them back with us in the championship here. Pole sitter, by the way, in the Pro-Am division, the number 75, always evolving AIM Autosport Nissan of Frankie Montecalvo, who will turn over to Ricardo Sanchez. And they had a really strong qualifying run, Cal. We're up in the 10th spot, and they're actually now up in the 9th.
Yeah, I spoke to Frankie after the qualifying run. He was chatting with his teammate Ricardo, and they had a lot of brake problems yesterday. Very spongy brake pedal, and Frankie said, I just didn't have the confidence that we'd fix the issue going into qualifying. He said, I didn't want to overcharge a corner because the peak in the tyre is so critical here. So he said, I think we could have been a couple of spots further up on the grid, but he said, car feels good. I think we should have a much better day.
And we just saw Preston Calvert out of his car having a look. Let's go back, take another look at what happened in the start. There's Mourad down to the inside of Parent.
Yeah, Parent really had nowhere to go. I mean, Daniel made a very aggressive move down to the inside, and Pat was just the innocent bystander there on the outside. Lucky, as you said there, that De La Torre was able to swerve around the outside. Unfortunately, he clips Preston and gets damaged to the right rear corner.
And Preston's car damaged as well. There it is. And also the 017 Case-It machine of... Just watching him have a little bit of a chat there. Sorry about that. Having a bit of a conversation there, Adam Mirzon, with Preston. And this is frustrating because Preston, right before this race, actually finished first in class and third overall in the Pirelli Trophy Cup race that was held here. So he was track ready, track knowledge ready to go after it here.
He was warmed up.
He was. And he was going to turn over to no less a talent than Alec Udell, too. So
it's a shame for Alec.
Yeah, it really is.
And again, the double bite there is that you're not going to finish, and secondly, you're not going to lay down a fast lap, so you're starting at the back tomorrow as well. So that's the predicament with the way you have to strategize around this. It can really hurt you. We saw that with Alvaro Parent at Utah last year, where we got taken out in the first corner. Suddenly, your day is done, and you don't have a lap laid down for your qualifying run for tomorrow, so it can really hurt you in the championship.
And there is a look at Pat Long now at the back of the GT field. Behind him are GT Cup and GTS competitors only. But that is 21st in the run order right now.
I'm sure the stewards are looking at that incident up there, but I really didn't see anything that, you know, Parent did wrong. Just when you all try to funnel in there, it can go wrong.
Well, I think when Mourad came up the inside, and that just got Parent, he suddenly couldn't turn. And yeah, it just carried him over into Pat. There's no way that was intentional at all, for sure.
Certainly not the start we expected for Alvaro. You knew he was going to be up on the wheel trying to make some hay while he could. And he's been super aggressive here. And it seemed like that McLaren has been coming alive pretty quickly in the early stages of races recently, Greg. So you know, he just got caught napping a little bit. I just mistimed it at the start.
Yeah, I think that and a combination of Daniel Mourad, who has been really on it and up on the wheel here this weekend. He was ready to go, obviously.
Yeah, he's feeling pretty feisty. I think he's got a lot of confidence with the car around here. They seem to have found a sweet spot and very much in the game this weekend. And they're not that far out of the SprintX points chase either. They're sitting in third right now, so be a long shot for them to catch Michael Cooper and Jordan Taylor if they finish both races, but strange things happen in racing.
We've seen that play out, haven't we? Let's look at the Cadillac of Cooper and Jordan Taylor. And early in the season when Jordan joined the team and found out he would be running with Michael Cooper, and they're both tall. But I was talking to Jordan, and he had to have a seat insert, and he was literally stuffing it down the back of his pants to save a little time, and it gave him a rather unusual look. And I was talking to him about it, and I said, you guys are both tall. He goes, yeah, but the problem is, he said, I'm wide receiver tall, he's linebacker tall. Yeah. And that's true. Cooper is a big boy, and just in terms of muscle, and he said, I was just floating around in that seat, and they had to come up with some strategy. It seems to have worked pretty well for him this year.
It does. It's good. I mean, the Taylor boys are just super individuals in terms of their talent behind the wheel, and really good to get along with.
Yep. And
you know they're going to fit in with any team, really. And certainly Johnny and Michael, they got two great teammates.
Oh, absolutely. I think they had to put Jordan in with Cooper, though, because I think Jordan and Johnny together, that'd be an unmanageable amount of goofy fun, you know. And they have had not only good speed, they have had some great strategy calls, and that win at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in the first race. But also, we talked about it in our show from Utah, just some tremendous luck with just, you think about that outlap at VIR when the car, the electronics shut down on it, and they not only never lost a lap, ended up with a podium. I mean, they just find a way to get points.
Seems to be destiny with the SprintX Championship for Michael Cooper this year, and Jordan Taylor, obviously, in tandem with him. But it only takes a little moment like we just saw with Pat Long, and suddenly things get turned upside down. If it had been Michael who'd got turned around there, suddenly it'd be turned, looking at all the calculations of the championship.
Well, the interesting thing is don't want to jinx it, but if those guys end up with this championship, and if things go right for Jordan in another series, it's going to be a pretty special year for him.
Yes. Taylor boys have a pretty stout lead in the prototype championship.
And they do. Haven't heard an update as of yet from race control as to when we might be going back to green. Obviously trying to get those cars removed. This is a track that, because of all the runoff here, oftentimes you'll see races go, you know, green to checkers, no cautions at all. But it all changes when cars get into each other and break. It looks like they've got one up on the back of the tilt bed, the other one almost there. The nice thing is that there are lots of cutouts that get onto access roads here. So once they get them loaded, we ought to be able to clear the field here fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's a long lap, so if they hustle there, we could go back to green this next time by. But it's only say 2 laps.
There you see the instruction coming from the Circuit of the Americas RV team saying, all right, you're good to go. Let's get you moving so we can clear this as fast as possible.
And this is actually probably helping the Cadillacs. I think of all of the front runners, probably the Cadillacs are most concerned about tire degradation. So we're just taking time off that 60-minute clock, Greg, which means they're not running, you know, full chat and loading those tires for.
Is that a function of the weight they run?
I think so. It just seemed like yesterday, and you know, talking to Ricky, I spoke to Ricky right before qualifying. He said, I think they've got a good qualifying car, but he said, I know we're going to struggle. We struggled last night when it was a lot cooler than we're going to see in the heat of the day that they're sitting in right now. So it just seems like they're working the tires a little bit harder than the Ferrari and the Porsche and even the Mercedes. But they've got stout straightaway speed.
Yes.
They've pretty much headed the speed traps most of the weekend. I won't talk about how much because Steve Cole.
Bad form.
Try not to
be bad form.
Exaggerate. I start using KPH instead of MPH.
Well, it is interesting because they certainly, you know, getting back to that conversation about the Cadillacs, is that, you know, I mean, they've got lap speed, but as you said, it's one thing to be fast over a lap or two, and another thing to maintain that speed over a full race stint. Remember, in these pit stops, you do not change tires. So you've qualified on these tires, and you've got to get them all the way through the end of an hour-long race.
Having said that, we have seen Wright Motorsports, like at Utah, they changed one tire on the 58 car. That is allowed with the Joker rule as well. So you could see a single tire being changed for some of the teams during that pit stop window, which is easily achieved with about car sitting stationary, about 30 seconds with a 60-second total delta.
It's going to be fun to see once we get a lap or two in here, get these tires up to real performance here, to see what kind of performance we see out of that number 31 Ferrari of Daniel Mancinelli and the number 2 Mercedes of Daniel Mourad. And by the way, we've seen on that orange Mercedes develop us an MK for CRP Racing on that car for a while. They've got a local Texas based, they're in Dallas, a sponsor this weekend, Service King Collision, and that car that's 4th in your screen right there. So they've got 2 very good drivers in there. A young guy, Daniel Mourad, who has shown to be very, very fast this year, and of course one of the most experienced pilots in the field in Ryan Dial.
Yeah, I think young Daniel made a statement at VIR when he held off Bleekemolen for the first half of his stint in essentially an identical car.
Yeah, it was funny. I talked to him after that down in the I don't remember exactly what venue during the season, and I asked him, I said, was that the moment so far this year? He said, well, obviously winning the Rolex 24, he said, that's big. He said, but I think in terms of just career recognition, in terms of the, you know, people that are considering you for things, he said the VIR win holding off Bleekemolen, he said that's probably going to carry more. And it should. It was pretty stout.
With a 24-hour race, it's such a team effort, whereas a VIR certainly teamed up at Ryan Dial to bring it home, but Daniel's opening stint was mega. And we all assumed that he'd succumb to the pressure. He doesn't have a lot of experience with these type of cars at this level. And when you got one of the fastest GT pilots in the world in a Mercedes right behind you, thought it was just a matter of time. But he just sat there and took everything that Jerome threw at him.
And just got word from race control, we will go green this time. So working through the very tricky S's here, and everybody will start really scrubbing those tires, cleaning them off. And then, of course, they'll head into the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone, which is basically from the exit of 19 through 20. And Ricky, at that point, once he gets in it, he can go pretty much when he wants. The only caveat is when you go, you have to stay gone. You can't go and then check up a little bit. And I think yesterday we saw Jörg in that race. He went right as he got to the apex of 20, and that of course meant everybody still had to get turned to the apex, and that's the way to do it, I think.
I think so, yeah. It just doesn't give the guy behind you enough time to respond before you know it, you're taking off and he's looking at you, disappearing. You're controlling the flow through that corner. Do you know what I mean? Where someone else having to adjust on the fly and get it together.
I was going to say, you see this look from turn 11 down this straight. It's really not straight, and it certainly isn't level. It just sort of undulates a little bit all the way down there with that little bit of a bend. And then right here, you see the dark light in the braking zone there. There's some bumps down there that aren't particularly easy to negotiate sometimes.
There is. I mean, obviously, we've had the devastating rain here in Texas down at Houston over the last week or so. But over the last couple of winters, I mean, I know just sitting watching the weather, I'm kind of a weather addict. I mean, the Texas area has really been drowned, you know, throughout the last 2 winters. And I think has had a real effect on the base of the circuit in terms of a little bit of heaving that we're seeing now up here.
So you're telling me you're one of those guys that has Weather Channel programmed into your favorites, like me?
Yeah.
I know.
When you come from England, mate, you live and die by the weather.
And you know rain. So that's why you're following. I got it. Now it all makes sense. All right, we've got lights out on the safety car. And actually, race control just issued a warning to the number 3, that's Ricky Taylor, to not go too early. So I wonder if he had a little bit of a margin coming out of turn 20 on that start. I wonder if they're saying, it was close, don't do it again.
He did go, and I think that's what caught Alvaro out on the second row. I think he was waiting for everyone to sort of like gradually inch up to speed, and Ricky took off and Pat Long went with him.
All right, we're into that zone. A little bit of bob and weave. When does he go? Pace car is in. The Cadillac ATS-V pace car is in. There he goes. And it was good, but I'll tell you, Mancinelli read that very well.
He did.
He stayed with him.
Eversley's had a nice, strong first lap as well. Got that Acura up into the 6th position. You see Mourad weaving around. That's just trying to clean off the tires. Probably got a little bit of pickup running around here under caution.
Mancinelli just a little wide of the apex, up in 1, but sometimes you do that, you can actually roll a little bit better speed. It's so wide up there.
See the bumps there as well. Kind of jockeying these cars through the S's. What a ribbon of racetrack this is. Just keeps coming at you. Ricky really able to hold the line through there. Mancinelli washing out wide a little bit. Doesn't quite have the balance set in the Ferrari. Doesn't have his hand speed set with the grip levels that he's getting right now.
Yeah, just got a report from race control, and I did not hear reasons, but there are 5 cars that need to come in for drive-through penalties. And it's some pretty substantial players here. The 88 Bentley, the number 4 Audi, but also the 58 Porsche and the 2 Mercedes.
Trying to identify what the problem was, why these cars are going to be getting this.
5.8 is a jump start violation. 2 is an incident responsibility violation.
Well, okay, well, the 58, Pat Long definitely went. I just thought he timed it perfectly, but he
Yep.
definitely lapped out from the 3rd row on the initial start, and that seems like they're now blaming Mourad for the action up in turn 1 as he dove inside of Parent and pushed Parent into Long.
I don't know that there was ever any contact, though, in that.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
The camera angle.
Wow, that's big news. And then some of the others, I think, too, were also for going a bit early.
This is good news for Alvaro Parent, because after yesterday they were looking at that points table and suddenly think we are out of this thing. But with Pat Long already at the back of the bus and having to serve a drive-through penalty, could be a big swing for Alvaro Parent, who sits in the 5th position. Mourad's going to have to get out of his way too with that drive-through, so that'll promote Alvaro another position.
Yeah, absolutely. And boy, Mancinelli. Now, this is when I would think you know, again, they're on sticker tires here, and that really negates. You have your Joker tires. You've taken them all in one shot, and then you're going to throw away all of that with that drive-through penalty. And I'm sure they're arguing that one big time right now. And the angle we had, it was tough to see. It didn't look like there was contact, but maybe the angle wasn't quite what we were looking at here, but Ricky Taylor working that Cadillac over those curbs here as Mancinelli giving chase in that yellow TR3 Ferrari.
We know that Ricky Taylor's got pace. He put the car on the pole. I mean, the big question mark was going to be how long could he maintain that pace. We lost a lot of green flag time, so that helps. And certainly with Mancinelli being stymied a little bit, may not allow him to really get the most out of those fresh set of Pirelli P0s. But even so, he's going to have a hand. Oh, look at this big move by Mourad down to the inside brake zone, down to the inside of Cooper. Oh, and immediately defends. Look at that. Barely see them on the left side of the frame. That's how aggressive the move was. Immediately to the left to take that line away. I hate to call it blocking on Michael Cooper. See Cooper there. Cadillac's got a couple of miles an hour at least on that Mercedes, but now it seems like Mourad's got the inside line. I wonder if he's got the news yet that he's got a penalty coming his way.
I would think the normal MO wouldn't be the team will start to fight that conversation with race control, and they'll tell you finally when you need to go. The others that were called, by the way, the 88 and the number 4 were for blend line violations, and that's
up for the lead.
Up for the front. Yep.
Mancinelli. Oh, that was close.
So close. Mourad through into third, and Mancinelli in full attack mode right now. But that blend line, the rule is, as you come down that front straight, there's a white line as you exit pit lane. And they were instructed in the drivers' meetings, you have to treat that like a wall. And if you drop tires, any tires, over that line, that's an immediate violation, and that's what that was called for on those 2 cars anyway.
Well, I think unfortunately for those handful of drivers that are getting penalties, with that caution, allowed the stewards a long time to look over all of the replays and come up with those conclusions. Watch the third row of the grid. There's Pat Long. It's hard to tell without seeing the green being waved in the same shot, but he definitely looked like he moved
right
really quickly.
Meanwhile, looks like Ricky at this point has been able to eke away just a little bit from Mancinelli after that great attack Mancinelli had, and Mourad is closing here. Daniel Mourad has fast lap of the race at a 2:08 8.506 and is coming after Mancinelli. Now let's go back quickly while things have settled and have another look at the top of the hill. Mourad's down the inside. Yeah, there may have been.
Yeah, I think he may have got that up on the curb a little bit.
I think that's what it was.
Just shoved him over. I mean,
yeah,
it's a harsh one.
Yeah.
I mean, you're racing hard. That corner kind of breeds that sort of action happening.
And the board is out, by the way. That's how long that caution took. Next time by, the pits will be open.
They're probably going to have to wait till I think the board may come out
this time. I think you're right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, where they are on the track right now. Yep. I think you're absolutely right. And Mancinelli once again closing up on the back of Ricky Taylor.
We've seen that Ferrari take the early pit stop option at a lot of events this year, but I know that Jeff spoke during the pit stop yesterday, the exchange, that Scuro was not really comfortable with this racetrack. That's why they want to get him out and get Mancinelli in, who's been absolutely flying here this weekend. So we'll have to wait and see what their strategy is today. Do they keep Daniel in for another 10 minutes and maximize his speed, or try and get this pit stop out of the way and strategize from there?
Well, he certainly seems to have some pace here, and I would think that with those 4 Joker, those nice fresh tires with clear track, you may want to let him just sail, huh?
Yeah. Not sure how long these guys have got to serve that penalty, but Mourad has definitely stayed out there. I think it's 3 laps, right, Greg? And you got to serve or you stop getting scored.
Right. Now, I haven't heard anything from race control, but if the team lobbied adequately and they decided to rescind the penalty, that may be what the deal is here. I haven't heard anything specific at this point.
This lap just went to Ricky Taylor. 207.94 compared to a 207.99. Mancinelli at 207.96 for Mourad. So the top 3 just dipped under the 208 bracket altogether there on that last lap.
And that top 3, as a result, you can see have opened up a little margin over that blue Cadillac of Michael Cooper, the number 8.
Yeah, Cooper's best at 208.6, so it doesn't seem like he's got the speed in his blue caddy that Ricky Taylor is bringing out of the red one right now.
Good early run by the Red Dragon, the 99 Bob Stalling Racing Gainesville Porsche in the hands of John Fogerty, of course, Texas-based team, up from 8th to 6th.
Pat Long has made his way up to the 9th position.
Oh, he's flying.
Yeah, he is flying. He's coming through the pack nicely. Just up ahead of him is Brian Sellers, who had a disaster in qualifying this morning. Had an issue with the turbo on the McLaren. And, lost power on his very first lap out, so got a bit buried in the qualifying order.
Here is Long. I'm telling you, that 21st to 10th here in a very short amount of time. That's a run. Look at this battle here. This is the number 54 Pappas, third in Pro-Am. Safronis qualified second in Pro-Am, slipped to fourth, and he is now all over the back of Pappas. And on his tail is the 44 of John Potter, who's really been on form. He kind of lit the fuse a little bit, it looked like, at Utah. That's home for him, of course, and I think he started to feel it here at Safronis. He was able to get by Pappas late in yesterday's race. So I wonder if that's paying into, Pappas's mind of got to hold him off this time.
Yeah, I spoke to James this morning. He was pretty pumped about that pass on the last lap. He said, I feinted to the left. Tim took it a little bit deeper. He made another jink to the left, and he just kind of missed his braking point. So he was happy to get that win. Now we see the strategy starting to play out with the 9 car, the first of the leaders, to make their pit stop. Perrin turning over to Barnacote, who got into a little bit of argy-bargy yesterday and cost him dearly.
So, he's ready to make good on it. Looks like that 44 will be coming in. And the clock starts as soon as you cross that line coming in. Long in as well, as is the 16. And let's get down to the pits. Busy pits with Jeff.
Yeah, Wright Motorsports looking as Patrick Long does his drive-through penalty for that jump start. John Halen up on the wall, hopping in here for Michael Shine. This team is one of the Pro-Am category cars, so they do have a 90-second delta, so plenty of time to get everything ready as the team is dealing with a penalty and a driver change all at the same time.
That's where this team's just shined so well for Wright Motorsports, is having that deal to bring in the one car to do the stop, the other one to do the drive-through at the same time, get that cleared out of the way. And Pat Long is showing some speed. He's got to do it all over again now, of course.
Tell you what, the 9 team, we talked about that new system with Logitech they're using. 60.2,
wow.
60.22, so only 22 hundredths of a second outside of the margin. Nice work.
And I wonder here if the reason that we're maybe not seeing Ricky in, unless they just said Ricky's really got a feel for it. They gave him the qualifying honors here to let him stay out right now.
He's got pace. That's the key.
Yeah, he's got pace, but I think Mancinelli's quicker. I wonder if part of their decision is they don't want to let Mancinelli have free track.
Yeah, very good point. If they can keep Ricky out there, sort of like stymie Mancinelli's run, he's eventually got to come. He's got to turn it over to his teammate.
Right.
If his teammate is a few tenths off of his pace, then that could help Cadillac maybe score the victory.
And Mourad has not made any kind of a drive-through, and I've heard nothing more from race control at this stage, so maybe that was re-reviewed. Boy, he is.
Mourad's in the pits now.
All right.
See if he just drives through. Pretty sure he's got to serve the penalty. Not sure if there's the option for the car to serve the penalty or the driver.
I'm not sure. Let's check in with Jeff. You might have the answer.
That's right. Sorry, Daniel Mourad just drives right past us here on pit lane to serve that drive-through penalty.
Right.
The contest is to go back next lap and do a pit stop. So a lot of confusion down here, but these penalties have been served now.
All right. Well, he had a great run sitting there in third. Obviously, that's going to cost him a little bit. But we've seen what Long can do. We'll see if Ryan Dial, after that stop, can dig deep as well and come up with something. But that leaves these two guys out here in what's now become sort of a mano-a-mano bash, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think you're spot on. I mean, in terms of if Ricky can just hold position, keep that Ferrari at bay, and maybe try and stretch this run as far as they feel comfortable with without sort of like getting beyond that 35-minute window. Halfway through right now, as you can see on the clock.
It certainly seems that Mancinelli has no issue staying right with him, which always makes you think if he was in clean air, he'd be able to go so in deep.
Thought about it to the inside, then you get kind of stuck in no man's land there with just get out of the way, roll off the brakes and get to the apex, Ricky, because I'm kind of right at threshold right behind you.
Watch Mancinelli's line there. I think he was watching Scott Dullahyde in their GTS race earlier, because that is a very effective line for him.
Ferrari seems really nimble through that section of the racetrack.
Sure does.
Ricky Taylor's really matured. He's always been quick, always putting great performances, but I think he's really on top of his game the last 18 months, Greg. Taking it to a new level.
Certainly shown that. I mean, to the point he recently had a test behind the wheel of, what team's IndyCar?
Penske boys.
Yeah.
Filled in for Simon Pagenaud, did some brake testing at Homestead. It was around the Sebring test, wasn't it? Sort of February time. Did an excellent job. Roger was very impressed with it.
When you get that kind of recognition, you've done something right. Into the pits comes the number 8 of Michael Cooper. He will be turning over to Jordan Taylor. Behind him, Matti Calvo brings the Pro-Am Nissan in. He'll be turning over to Ricardo Sanchez. Jeff?
You see Michael Cooper just go by as Ricky Taylor on the wall. They're going to pop the door open, come in, and get that driver change done. Peter Cox and Mark Wilkins doing a driver change as well in the Acura NSX. That car did not finish yesterday, your race winner at Utah. So getting busy down here, as you see, Ari Below and Gregory Leafouge, the BMW, one of our GTS SprintX category cars, completing their pit stop as well. We're still waiting on the 31 R2 car and the 58 car, and when they'll do their pit, they're starting to run out of time.
That's true. About 2.5 minutes left in this window here. So next lap, anybody who hasn't pitted is pretty much going to have to make the commit, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Cooper to Jordan Taylor, 60.7. So that's a nice clean start for the Cadillac boys. Not quite as quick as Alvaro Prenta-Barnicoat at a 60.2, but nonetheless, anything I think around 61 seconds you got to be pretty happy with. Cox to Wilkins as well, 60.2. So everyone's kind of fine-tuning that element of this SprintX format.
Well, I think they've obviously seen that what happens when it goes wrong, and it has been incredibly costly at a couple of junctures. And also on the shorting end of it, if you end up going too short, there you go. You can't do that. That's an automatic drive-through. So this is the time. These two guys have pretty much got to come in here, I would think.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing the lap times drop off a little bit. Good second plus off their fastest laps earlier in the race. And 207.3 is Mancinelli's fast lap. I'm seeing a 207.33 for the 14.
Here we go. Well, this is going to be a direct comparison on these stops.
We've seen the Ferrari boys do an excellent job on this pit lane delta time throughout the course of this SprintX season. And this could be, whoever cuts it the finest, be a change of position.
Aaron Fogarty was up to third. See him in the background in the Red Dragon. All right, the Ferrari is in. Mancinelli hits his marks. Nicolo Schirò over the wall, and just in front, the number 3 Cadillac. Out comes Taylor. Johnny Red climbing on board.
There's no games really been played. I thought about what could possibly happen, like jump out, get the track position, then slow down if you're going to beat your pit lane delta and keep the guy behind you. There's some of those games that could be played, but no one's really gone in that direction. Jeff?
Down here on pit lane, of course, you see Daniel Mourad and Ryan Dale doing the pit stop. You had the TR3 Ferrari of Mancinelli right in front of this car. Patrick Long brings the Porsche in from Wright Motorsports. Jörg Bergmeister going into the 58 here. It's pandemonium with all 3 leaders that are the contenders in the championship all lined up on pit lane. They were talking to each other, trying to say when we wanted to pit. They did change a rear tire on the Porsche of Patrick Long and Jörg Bergmeister.
All right, there you go. Obviously, maybe concerned if there was a little bit of contact and making sure on that. And Bergmeister now away.
Yeah, John Wright told me they anticipated doing a 1 tire change as they did at Utah.
Wondering, too, about, tell you what, Fogarty brought that 99 in. He wasn't too far back of this duo here. And wondering how far back he might go. In a lap, everything will sort out at this stage, and these two should be right back into the front and in running order with Johnny O'Connell and Nicolo Schirò 1 and 2. And one of the things that Johnny O'Connell has a reputation for that is somewhat legendary is being able to save tires. He works and works and works with traction control and settings to make sure he's got fresh tires late in a race. He's a magician at that, and that could make a difference here today, Cal.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to really try and get a win. It hasn't been the season that Johnny O wanted to put together, but nonetheless, give the boy a chance of a victory. He's going to try and grab it. Won here last year, of course, so great history at this racetrack. And on that pit lane Delta time, you see the 88 go for a bit of a ride. The Cadillac boys beat the Ferrari boys by about a second, 60.7 versus a 61.7.
I think that was Vincent Abril had taken over from Adderley Fong in the 88. Now check that, it was Vincent started the race, so now it's Adderley Fong, so had a bit of a loop. Meanwhile, here now is Jordan Taylor being chased by Ben Barnicoat. That should be, well, we're going to have to wait until scoring really settles here because it's still a little bit involved here. A couple of people that pitted really late.
Yeah, Jordan's fourth, Ben is fifth. Hensler, Gainsco team on a nice run here today in sixth. Tom Dyer taking over from Eversley up to seventh for Acura.
Ooh, look at this. Nicolas Guiraud may not be particularly comfortable on this track, but he's still quick.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, he was something at both he and Mancinelli were just remarkable at Utah.
Wait for timing and scoring to cycle through, because right now it's showing Pierre Caffer as the leader of this race.
I think he may have been the last guy into the pits, perhaps.
Okay. So we still got to cycle through one more time. Yeah.
Because they've done a drive-through. All right, here we go.
Really tight to that 35-minute window if he's still on the outlap. We're looking at the clock at 23 and 10 seconds.
Yeah, they cut it close. Yeah, very close. And they had already done a drive-through, obviously.
Look at this. Guiraud's got to run.
There. To the inside he goes.
Johnny takes it in deep. Guiraud releases the brakes a little bit, just tries to get that position. Can he hang on? Johnny O trying to come back at him. They're fighting off turn 12.
Side by side, 13. And Guiraud finally able to close the deal. He closed the deal because Johnny couldn't quite close the door, really.
They haven't given up on this SprintX championship. They are the team that is closest to Michael Cooper and Jordan Taylor. 23 points behind. Nice little swing here today, but they really need something to happen to that Vector Blue Cadillac for them to really get into the mix of clinching this championship. What a performance. We talked about it yesterday, Greg. This team is really ticking all of the boxes. Speed, consistency, execution. Just leapt on our radar at St. Petersburg at the streets, the first round of the championship.
I mean, the team has Ferrari Challenge experience prior to this, but boy, did they have it right. At 0-4, great to see the De La Torre Racing, Aston Martin, Jorge De La Torre, and welcoming a new driver to the team, Ate de Jong, who's a Dutchman who resides now in Manila in the Philippines, and great to have them with us here. And here's another look at that.
Yeah, he just got to the inside. Johnny took it in super deep, and I think Guiraud just released the brakes a little bit and had another stab at it just to get right alongside him.
And he saw that little wiggle right as he released, obviously, and Johnny had the right idea with that sort of undercut move, but just had him on the outside. And that Ferrari, as you said, just looked so nimble in the twisty stuff. Johnny just couldn't match his corner speed.
Let's not forget those tires. That could be playing a factor now.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Maybe Johnny O is struggling a bit for grip.
Again, I mean, I'm a big Nicolas Guiraud fan. He's impressed me immensely. But if you're really uncomfortable on a track, was that maybe their play with the Joker tires, was to just give him that little bit of advantage, give him a little extra grip when others might be sliding around, to give him some confidence?
Well, you know, it works both ways. I mean, you're going to have the ultimate speed in terms of potentially laying down a quick lap immediately, and you're going to have a little bit more life in them because the other guys had to use them up in qualifying. So there's no there's no bad side of putting fresh tires on to start the race. There's not obviously any grid spots with the Joker tire.
No, he just set the fastest second sector of this entire race, Guiraud did. So, yeah, whatever it is, it's working for him.
14 is showing fastest lap of the race, so I'm assuming that's...
Oh, look at this.
Oh, look at this. Oh, he's locked up completely.
And he takes the Nissan with him, and Chevrolet is through and into the lead. Wow. And there's Bleekemolen off to his left.
We'll clip the WeatherTech sign there coming off at turn 11.
So Bleekemolen's in this mix as well. That's the top four cars, I think, in AM right there. Gemini, 16 of Halen.
Oh, Halen's going for it. This is feisty. think Halen was very impressed with the move that Jaminet put on him yesterday. Now they're fighting again, and I believe it's got to be Jaminet who laid down that fast lap of the race so far at 207.3.
And when this lap started, by the way, that number 75 Nissan was leading in Pro-Am. That's how crazy this lap has been, and he's now in danger of going down another position. Bleekemolen stuffs the Mercedes down to the inside.
Tough one to pull off.
Look at that. That's two guys willing to race in close quarters.
Yeah, Ricardo's hanging on here.
There was a piece of paper's width between that front and rear bumper all the way through 18, which is no easy feat.
He said yesterday we had the brake problems. He said, but the car was really using up the tires a lot yesterday. He said it felt like I had a GT4 car to fight a battle with GT3 machinery at the end of the run.
So now Jaminet's been able to eke out a couple of car lengths here as they work their way around the 09 Aston Martin from the Racers group. That was Sean Given started. Now it's Derek DeBoer in that machine. Derek, of course, getting a win in the GTS category in the sprint race at Road America last year. So, oh, that's so close.
Sanchez just parked Bleekemolen there.
Through these S's here.
Toes. Mercedes got a lot more pace once he can clear him.
Well, certainly through these S's, and I mean, this is a much improved Nissan from what they ran here last year when Highcotter was able to win it. But in those quick transitions, it still has that motor up front, way up front and higher in the chassis. Comparatively here, Bleekemolen looking to the inside.
Yeah, he wasn't quite close enough. Like, anticipated him making the move, but he didn't get through that corner before to be close enough to make the move.
Yep.
Sanchez is really impressive. Doesn't do a lot of racing.
When he does, he's quick, huh?
Yes, he's immediately on it.
By the way, the number 88 of Fong and the 43 that is now, I believe, started by Eversley, so it's in the hands of Tom Dyer. Both have to do drive-throughs. They were short in their 60-second pit window, apparently, according to race control. Bleekemolen continuing his attack on Sanchez. Is up front. Jaminet eases away a little bit farther from Jan Halen. Sanchez, boy, you know, he really opens. He has to, oh, two big wiggles by Bleekemolen as he's trying to find a way by. Uroni is really pushing it right now.
Yeah, he's got to make a move, otherwise this potential is leaving him in terms of the overall result here. Only 17 minutes on the board as his teammate watches on. Just looking at the data, 59.958 was the Eversley Dyer pit stop delta. So just
ouch.
42 thousandths of a second shy of 60 seconds. But if you're under even 1,000, you're going to get the call.
Boy, Jerome pushing right now. And you're absolutely correct here. Just the simple fact that he's losing ground here.
Yeah. This is really taking the edge off of his charge right now. He's working him, but hats off to Ricardo's racecraft here.
Yeah. And the margin between Jaminet and Halen is 1.5 seconds, second and a half right now. So they've been able to open it up. And the more important figure is from Halen back to Sanchez now. It's another almost 3 seconds, 2.5 thereabouts.
Bergmeister just laid it down at 207.54. That is so important for Pat Long and that group in terms of grid position for tomorrow. Should put them up to about the second row of the grid as things stack out right now.
Boy, and it tells you just how good those two drivers are in that team is, because they had a spin drop to 21st. Then they had a drive-through penalty, then a pit stop in Yerk's 10th.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just stunning.
Yeah, and laid down a quick lap.
Yeah.
So you just got to stick to your game plan. They changed tires, which was changed one tire, which is part of the game plan going in, according to John Wright. So you just got to execute and maximize whatever the position is. Oh, tucks it in.
Yeah.
Ricardo fights him though.
Oh, a little bump.
Elbows are out right now.
They sure are.
I think that was legit, though. I don't think I've seen any action there, even though Ricardo's really slowed. I think it may have damaged his car. He's got flat.
He's got, yep. He sure does. That might change the dynamic of the decision, unfortunately.
mean, I think Jerome had the position. And Ricardo just fighting him for the contact. That's unfortunate.
It sure is. Here's a look at Rick Kulak down in the always evolving AIM Autosport pit.
Need that group back full time, Greg.
Yes, we
Great
do.
to see him here for the SprintX, but we need him back full time.
Yeah, we do. And he's a proud dad. His son Derek ran in the GTS race earlier today. Watch
Look
this
at
now.
I mean, it pretty much established the inside there. I mean, I don't think he could tuck it any tighter.
Well, it was, let's just say it was real close.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I mean,
Obviously.
exit there, maybe he opened his hands more than he really had to. I mean, obviously, if you're carrying speed, radius is going to be your radius on exit. But like you say, Greg, Stewart's decision may be influenced by the fact that
There's Jurg just augering his way through traffic as best he can. The 43 of Dyer. Oh, we're getting a report drive-through 5-4 incident responsibility. Interesting there. And the 43, as I was going to say, the Acura in the hands of Tom Dyer now is not yet done, by my reckoning, their drive-through. Shows only one, or have they? Yeah, maybe they have. It shows 2 stops. Okay, maybe they've got it done. Boy, they played that well.
Yeah, he just did it, though, so I don't think timing and scoring is
It's
cycle,
off.
Greg.
There it is, yep. Big move there. The number 4, Pumpelli, they're fighting and scrapping right now, those two.
Yep.
So that makes sense. That's about the 10th, 11th.
Yep.
So
This is Dyer's outlap after serving the penalty.
Oh,
that's
Spencer.
nice. That's nice.
Does he make it work? Yeah,
Awesome.
Dyer fights him off.
That is great racing between
Spencer's
those two
not
boys.
done. Look at this.
Fabulous. That was mega.
That was awesome. 3-4 corners.
Sweet stuff there. Good respect between both of them.
Yeah.
Racing hard, and the track allows you to do it.
Getting in, look
coming
at Dyer.
back
Boy,
at
did
him
he get a
now.
run. Oh, man.
This isn't over yet.
He's straight lining it all the way to the apex. What's Spencer going to do? Has he got the grunt to do the over-under? He does.
He's going to clean it too. He's got the roll.
He did.
Good field there. Just moved out enough to
Yep.
not create contact between the two as they encountered the bumps there. The irony here is that Spencer's best mate is Ryan Eversley,
I know.
who co-drives with Tom Dyer.
This has just been a great half lap between these two. Just a joy. And you know what? You know, that's one of the fun things when it's a couple of drivers that really respect each other. Is you know that Dyer did not want to lose that spot, but when Spencer went by, then Dyer went by, and then Spencer went by again. You know, Dyer's in the car, not happy with the pass that he got past, but going, well done. That was really pretty. I mean,
Look at
just
this.
good
This is
stuff.
fabulous.
Right here, look at that move.
It's perfect timing.
That's great stuff.
As we've seen this year, the Audi just seems to be a little bit top line speed short of the rest of the competition.
Well, part of it is that it's a chassis that was homologated with a fair amount of downforce, so it's really good when it's in the downforce zone, but that makes it a bit draggy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a trade-off, a compromise between downforce and drag and the straight line speed, of course. But, you know, I spoke to Brad Kettler from Audi Customer Racing this morning, and he said, we're fighting it hard. He said, we just need a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit of restrictor would really help.
Well, part of the issue is when you restrict a normally aspirated engine, you tend to lose a little bit more in terms of that corner launch. That can really hurt, I would think. Boy, look at Hensler.
This would be a Texas story.
Yeah.
Gainesco had a brilliant podium run here last year with John Fogarty. On the verge of another one if Wolfie can perform some magic here in the final few minutes of this race.
This is Texas steer country, and you got a wolf coming.
It's a great fit. I think it's been great for Gainesco and that whole operation to have this Porsche factory driver, Wolf Hensler, jump on board, do some testing with them, help them evaluate where they're at with their setup. And it's been a pretty strong weekend. I mean, not at the sharp end, but very much a lot more in the hunt than they were in Utah.
He's quite a character. I mean, if you first meet him and you don't know him, he's just kind of got this deer in the headlights look all the time, and you just wonder. But he has got a wicked sense of humor. and is just a real character, great fun, and an amazingly talented driver.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Sellers, longtime teammate, I just speak so fondly of what the man's all about, and I think he's come out of his shell a little bit since he's been in the States for so long. We got to know him a lot better, but real character. Loves karaoke, loves to sing a song, so give the German a couple of beers and I'm sure he'll oblige.
He is working over Jordan Taylor right now. Jordan has those headlights blazing as he comes up in the back of the 55 of Alessandro Bressan. That's a GT Cup category car. It's the Super Trofeo version of the Lamborghini Huracan. Comfortably leading in the GT Cup Pro-Am category right now. And you can see Bressan is the consummate pro right there. Saw those guys coming up as soon as he could. Open the wheel, let them slide through. We'll do the same here for Barnicoat.
Bergmeister now up to set up to 8th position. A lot of work to do. I think he's 10 seconds behind Mark Wilkins, who's having a nice run today.
Yeah, he is.
And Peter Koss coming off that great victory in Utah.
Oh, look at Wolf. He's maybe in a position to do something here. He looks, maybe not quite close enough.
Porsche and Cadillac pretty similar in straight line speed, within a mile or two. Wolf's got some speed, he's got some pace, he's got some grip left. But there's Barnicoat's a nice run here. He's back up into the picture.
I was going to say, he's coming right back at him. There's John Fogerty. He's got to be enjoying running at the front of things here. I mean, they're one spot out of a podium, Cal.
Yeah.
Remember, it was when they debuted at Pirelli World Challenge here at COTA. They got their first podium here. Problems for the 16. Oh, my goodness. Down the front straight slowly for the team leading in the SprintX points in Pro-Am.
That's huge.
That is massive.
Score points, but it's going to be based on overall positions in the race, so this will really hurt them in their battle with Sofronis.
Oh, man, yeah. That's huge. There's the number 30. That is the Momo NGT Ferrari in the hands of Enrique Cisneros, who started it, turned it over to Peter Ludwig, but Enrique is the guy who's been running it the full season, and he's got a big lead right now in the Am-Am points. And you might say, well, yeah, he's the guy that's consistently running the full season, but he's also been running the full season at the front of anybody that comes after him. So he's certainly earning this this potential championship here if everything stays together for him. Boy, Wolf wants a podium. Yeah, what I was going to say was when they showed up here, they got their first Pirelli World Challenge podium in the McLaren last year, and right here at COTA, and it meant the world to them to do it in Texas, where the team is based.
Yeah, obviously their thoughts are with
oh yeah,
a lot of people are affected by that devastating storm last weekend.
Well, and their initial plan and what they did last year here was they have a huge contingent of agents and the like. They treat them to a special weekend and everything. And Bob Stalling said, that's not something we can do. We need you back and working. We'll take care of you later. Trust us. And that's just a comment about the character of that man and that team, no question. As Bergmeister, boy, just watching him flow through these corners is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's got a lot of speed. I think time's running out on him in terms of being able to catch the Wilkins.
And the team car we saw crawling and coming to a stop eventually, Jeff, right there at the start-finish line. What's up?
Yeah, getting word from Wright Motorsports that motor has expired on that Porsche. Unfortunate, stating champion pro category.
And guess what, Jeff, right as you finished that report, word came from race control, full course caution for, I'm sure, where that car is. It's in between the barriers there. Anybody has something happen, that's a big deal, and it's a huge deal for, who were we just talking about?
Yeah,
Jörg Bergmeister.
absolutely. The key is if they can clear that car in time for us to get back to green flag running. Just under 6 minutes to go.
Yeah, there's 36 seconds at the time of the caution, the last time by, behind Skidoo up front. And there's big, 4, 5, 6 second gaps between a number of cars. That's going to be huge here. And the good news for Skidoo is he's got a couple of lap cars between himself. I don't know if we're going to see a wave around. I would think with only 5 minutes remaining, we won't.
Question is how quickly can
I know, I was just going to say that. 5 to go.
Right in the middle of the pit straightaway, so it's, whichever way you go, it's a long haul.
Now, there is a great big wall you can open up there and get a car cleared up, but it's how quick you can get that wall open to get them in too. So. Here's some of the discussion going on there. Halen saying, I can get back in if you want.
Yeah. Being circumspect there, because the last thing you want to be doing is getting into a car with someone coming by you at high speed.
Yeah, it's just unnerving at best.
I think the officials are worried we've got to somehow get this car moved to be able to get back to green flag. It's going to be a tough order. Tall order, excuse me.
And I wonder if
I mean, that's probably 100 yards.
you're far enough down the straight here that I think you might, the problem is you might be starting to get into the slight uphill roll. So here we go. I wonder if they're just gonna, I can't imagine, yeah, I was gonna say, I can't imagine they're gonna swing up behind him and give him a push.
First they're going to try and identify what's going on. The clock is ticking.
Yeah, they're looking for the toe loop. I think what they were ascertaining was, is this car going to move? And Halen assured them it would.
It's feasible.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be what maybe a 2-lap shootout if they get this thing cleared now. Yeah. Could this be a green-white?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. John Wright's probably saying, do whatever you have to do and get that thing off the road. We need Bergmeister to be able to make up some positions here in the sister car. I don't care if you fire it back up and try and find some life.
If there's anything left in that motor, blow it up if you have to. Just clear the track. And getting word, race control, all cars pack up green this time. So they are saying, we're going. Boy, and this is
fluid leaking from the car. That would be
either.
another concern. They'd have to do any cleanup. I didn't see anything.
It's far enough off to the side that it really, even if they did a little bit, I don't see anything.
Clean.
Yeah. And maybe he just felt it starting to tighten up, obviously, and just said, yeah, this is not going to do this. So here we go. But what do we have here is 2 cars between Skidoo and Johnny O'Connell, and a couple of cars between himself and his teammate, Jordan Taylor, in the number 8 Cadillac. Right behind him is the 99 of Hensler and the Gainesco Red Dragon Porsche. Then the 9 of Barnicoat, the 2 of Dial. Nice recovery for them after that drive-through to be up in 6th.
The conspiracy theorist may say
I was just wondering what
Piquet there. I think if you're going to do it, you do it at a place where you can get the car out of the way a little quicker.
Yeah, because he really jeopardizes finishing under caution. And yeah, exactly. So that's where
Nelson Piquet deliberately crashed a Formula One car for the benefit of his teammate.
Yeah,
strategy-wise.
And I think that conspiracy could have had a lot of life to it if he had done it so late. I think that was the issue. Yeah.
There's going to be some fighting here.
Boy, isn't there? Everybody's going to be really working on cleaning up those tires. There's Alec at Bergmeister 8th.
The irony is that Bergmeister's right behind Mark Wilkins, who is Pat Warner's brother-in-law. The story gets complex, doesn't it?
Oh, welcome to the days of our World Challenge here. But there's a theory that once the visor goes down, you have no friends.
That's right.
You have no friends.
Yeah, Thanksgiving.
It'll be awkward. I'll deal with it then. So look at the clag that's coming off of those tires and the like. I mean, that's
no turkey for you.
Boy, Wolf, you know this team is so hungry for a podium, especially here. Ooh, green and white together. 1 lap shootout here. It's a 1 lap shootout at Dakota Corral. This is going to be insane.
Fortunately for Skidoo and Johnny O, they got lap cars in between.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a fight.
Yeah, race control is urging those lap cars to, as soon as they get on the straight, to kind of move over a little bit. Or actually to stay to the right. There we go, and Wolf got the run.
He's got that inside lane. It's going to be a drag race up to the brake zone. What does Barnicoat do with this? Does he go with the Gainesco car? Does he slide it to the inside as well? Oh, he's trapped there. The Audi's right in his way, but Wolf makes the move, and Barnicoat goes with him. He clears.
Oh, it's a touch with
Taylor.
Barnicoat and Taylor there as well.
Taylor all up over the curb. Nothing he could really do with that.
No.
His hand was forced.
Dial right on his 6. Bergmeister just in the back of your frame. You see the flash of that right Motorsport Porsche. Oh, and a big spin. And Bergmeister was right in front of Bergmeister, I believe. That could have huge implications.
Absolutely.
That's the 019. That's one of those lap cars.
It's going to get feisty, Greg, as everyone's trying to clear those lap cars. Look at this. Dial has got to run here. Can he take another critical position away from the number 8 Cadillac in the late going?
Oh, couldn't quite get it done there.
Ferrari team watches on.
Mosquito's
comfortable
gone.
at the front. But look at Hensler. He's got a run going here.
Sure
Look like
does.
Johnny O's trying to get his tires cleaned up. He's feeling he doesn't have the grip right now. Hungry like the Wolf is coming.
Well, like we said, you get offline a little bit here. You get junk on those tires, and Johnny had to make a move there to get around some of those lap cars. That's exactly what may have played out here. And Wolf has got pace, no question. Barnicoat watching it, hoping for an opportunity. And Wolf going to try and create one here.
Wolf made his name in the U.S. winning in Pirelli World Challenge.
Yes, he did. What can he do here? Got an awfully savvy driver in front of you.
Got a very fast Porsche behind him, though.
Oh, he sure does. Into that 16, 17. Here's 18. 2 corners to go when they exit here. Skeeto, he's got enough. What can Wolf do down into this last turn? Johnny got out at 19 very clean.
Nice job, Johnny O'Connell.
Yeah, he did a great job there. Here we go. Onto the front straight. Skeeto and Ferrari win. O'Connell comes through, but Hensler, a podium, and right at the end, Dial sneaks around the number 8 of Jordan Taylor. That's got points implications. There is the Ferrari team absolutely elated here. What a story. Johnny O surviving that. And again, the Gainsco 99 Bob Stallings Racing Porsche, a podium in Texas. Only a couple spots up the podium would be sweeter than that, but wow. Wolf, what an amazing
that
job.
7th position held off Bergmeister. I thought Bergmeister would be going for it big time.
Well, I think that there was that spin that we just saw at the back of our frame happened right in front of Jürgen. I think that may have blunted his attack here.
Yep.
So what a story here. Looking at the GTM categories, Jaminet and Safronis in the number 14 Global Motorsports Group, Mobile 1 Porsche. Second, Bleekemolen able to get through and finish in second. And a huge story coming from way, way back. Third in Pro-Am, Mike Skeen and Mike McCann in the 82.
Damage to the
Oh,
Nissan.
look at that.
Wonder if he was involved in that.
That might have been, yeah.
Middle of the S's.
But Skeen in the Yeti McCann Plastics Audi from McCann Racing started dead last on this field. Were able to come up into third. And then the number 30 Momo Ferrari winning Am. Wow. And the problems for the 16, obviously. They came in here, as we talked about, with a 3-point lead over the 14. And that now is going to change big time. And the Cadillac Move of the Race Award is going to be that number 31 Ferrari's move for the lead. And it was a sweet pass at that.
It was nice, but I tell you what, that move that Pompelli
That's
put up
what I
was
was
pretty
thinking.
sweet as well.
That one was absolutely brilliant, and it took corners to set up and execute. That was the chess match, wasn't it? Just all right. You move here, I'll move there. And it was pretty spectacular. So everybody working their way around on a well-earned cool-down lap here, especially with that one-lap blast. I'll tell you, for Nicola Scudeau, who apparently is not real comfortable on this track, he drove a brilliant stint. There's no question about that. Here's what happened to the 75.
It was coming off turn 11. It wasn't the S's.
Yeah. Collected one of those boards out on the edge of the track.
The board would have done the damage.
No, I wonder if he maybe got helped. And again, I mean, what happened to Bergmeister in that spin that happened right in front of him as they went into the S's, and just we saw it in the back of our frame. But at this moment, it's all about the celebration here.
It's big. Themselves in the game. It's going to be a hard day tomorrow to try and overhaul Cooper and Jordan Taylor, despite them finishing 6th today.
Yeah.
It's a big swing.
Boy, isn't it? And working and getting that helmet, hands the vise off of the very quick Italian. Look at that. There's Daniel Mancinelli offering him a little bit of help down there. This is a very, very special moment. And now let's get it down to Jeff. He's there.
Well, here with Daniel Mancinelli, Nicolo Scarone. Nicolo, great drive, superb pass for the lead. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I needed some mistake from the Cadillac because the top speed for us was quite slower. Fortunately, he did, and I can gain something in exit from before the long straight behind, and on the break we were stronger, so I did it. So very happy for the team. Good job also for Daniel on the start. I'm happy with that. Let's try to repeat tomorrow.
I know you're starting to love this place now, Daniel. Superb drive for the start for you as well. Talk us through your stint.
Yeah, it was a great start. Unfortunately, in the straight, we miss a lot of speed, and it's difficult to attack the Cadillac car. But I tried in the corner number 15, but in the exit, he had a bit better exit. But it was funny, and it was good race, clean race. And then Nicolo made an unbelievable job in the last stint, where he overtook O'Connell, and we went to win this race, amazing race. Thank you to the Tier 3 racing team that make a wonderful job again here.
Well, the TR3 team right here celebrating 3 victories so far here this season for this driver in this beautiful Ferrari.
Yeah, I'll tell you, both of them were able to just put it together here today, and that team has just jumped into professional GT3 racing and have already established a great CV. There's a look at the pro results. Hensler and Fogarty getting that podium. Here's the issue, though. Barnicoat, Parent, and then you look at Dial Mourad. But Taylor Cooper, Cal, that points margin has come down that they had in hand over the winners here. But both them and that number 9 McLaren, once again, not getting great race laps.
No, that's really going to hurt them in terms of their grid position tomorrow. I think there's a 10-point swing, Greg. The 31 car came in here 23 points behind the 8 squad in terms of the SprintX Championship. Tomorrow, I think it'll be down to 13. So, yeah, similar sort of day. This suddenly gets really tight. Anything can happen. I think they're going to be on about P8, possibly grid position as well for the number 8 tomorrow versus the 31 being up on the front row.
Yeah, and does that include the point for pole? So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting here. So it'll be fun to see how that plays out. And we were just, let's get back down to Jeff. He's got another winner for us.
Well, I kind of got to agree with you. Yesterday, I think night racing's a little bit better. You guys are a little hot, but great win for you today.
Well, hats off to Matthew. He was amazing. You see, I had a bad start. Pat Long spun in front of me, and I had to go right, and everybody went left. But brought it in one piece, close to the leaders in class. And that was the plan, but Matthew drove great. Just want to say hi to my family at home. But I also want to give Matthew and the GMG guys immense credit. I mean, this guy drove through the front, and I think he's on the pole for tomorrow with fast lap. So hats off to the crew and Matthew. Great job by this guy.
We had fastest lap yesterday, pretty good there today. Tell us about your drive.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, we were a bit far away at the pit stop, like I think 6-7 seconds. I could catch Bleekomonen quite fast. But then from that point was getting harder and harder to catch Alan and the Nissan. So yeah, I just gave everything. I tried really a move at the last second. Alan tried to close and he made a mistake. And the Nissan had to avoid, so I just take the lead and then I was just a bit quicker and I pull away. And keep the car to the end and bring it to the podium.
I think Matthew's going to have to buy a new suitcase as he's got 2 trophies already, trying to see if he can make that 3 tomorrow.
Absolutely, and you can hear it, man. I mean, he was in the car for, what, maybe 30 minutes? He was working hard in this heat. And you heard them talk about fast lap. I was so engrossed in that battle at the front. Jaminet got fast lap overall. They get the point, so that's the cool thing. Here is the podium there, and with the problems for the 16, huge developments in terms of the points in the Pro-Am category. Bleekemolen and Pappas, another podium. Skeen and McCann, they came up out of nowhere after being way at the back. So Mike Skeen just working some absolute magic here. We've seen him do that in Pirelli World Challenge in the past as well. And here's the unofficial points at this stage here. And Safronis now, that you can see Bleekemolen and Pappas now move into second, clear of Halen and Shine. But Safronis, with the help of Jaminet, and earlier in the season, Laurens Vanthoor, has himself a pretty good position here. And that's a big story. Now, the one thing we just wanted to mention here is that for the number 8 Cadillac of Taylor and Cooper that are so in this, a rough calculation, nothing's official yet, but they might start as far back in the order as 8th in the race tomorrow. That is going to be something that's going to be difficult for them to overcome at this point. So lots to be thinking about here. Once again, in the Am category, it was the number 30 Momo Ferrari of Enrique Cisneros, the points leader, and Peter Ludwig running with him this weekend. In the GT Cup Pro-Am category, the number 55 Lamborghini of Alessandro Razzan and Yuki Harata, they get the win. In the GT Cup Am category, it's James Weiland, and his co-driver for the weekend, Conrad Grunewald, is the R3 Motorsports Ferrari Challenge team, takes a crack at Pirelli World Challenge and ends up with a win. So congratulations to them. In the GTS category, the Am category winners, Derek DeBoer in the Rd.9 Aston Martin that he shares with Sean Gibbons. And in the Am category, looking for the winners there, the Pro-Am category, excuse me, it'll be the number 7, well, the 017 of Adam Merzon actually ends up with a bit of an issue here and doesn't get the finish, so it's the 03 Aston Martin. So a good day for TRG in the GTS, Am, and Pro-Am categories with Chris Wilson and Craig Lyons getting the win there as well. So it's going to wrap things up for this second day of activity here at the Pirelli World Challenge, Grand Prix of Texas. That Circuit of the Americas. We do hope you've enjoyed it. We sure have, bringing it to you. We are going to be back with you tomorrow. We've got 3 races on the Pirelli World Challenge docket tomorrow. At about 9:45, we will start coverage in that area for the GTS race. Then at about noon, we will start coverage for the second of the SprintX races. So GTS race 2 on the weekend, SprintX race 2, and then we'll wind things up right around 2:15 or so with the final event for the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Texas, the touring cars, and they put on a spectacular show earlier today as well. So on behalf of Calvin Fish and Jeff Leopard down at Pit Lane, I'm Greg Creamer. It's been a pleasure, folks. Whatever you do tonight, have a lot of fun, but do it safely. We look forward to talking to you from a hot and delightful Texas tomorrow.